service, but they were not picking.
Fire incidents indiscriminately causing disasters are common in the Gambia, and to many, the fire rescue service do not respond quickly to calls or show up late with empty tanks. Aissatou shares the same belief.
So ñom biñ ñëwé na gaay ñu né ñom amuñ ndox.
According to the fire service people, sometimes people do prank them, but to me, that is not an excuse. Unfortunately, they came late and said their tank was empty. They went back and came for the second time with a half tank, and the water was not even enough to put out the fire.
She says the damage had already been done before the arrival of the rescuers. She says she is dreadful.
Ci lañ fekk fridge yi télé yi bari gi nga xamanteni mo day def lekka yi.
By the time they came, everything was burnt to ashes. The fire was uncontrollable. I lost everything.
No, because amuñ sen number.
Although it is yet to be confirmed as to what caused the fire, many claim it is caused by electricity. The dejected family is seeking support from the government and philanthropists to help in whichever way they could. For African News, Sohna Tunkara.
The ambassador of Portugal to the Gambia, rather, His Excellency Vitor Paul da Costa Serena, today presents his letter of credence to the Gambian leader, President Adama Barrow, at the State House. Ambassador Serena is the latest to present his credential, and shortly after presentation of his letter of credence, Mr. Sereno told the press of his nation's initiative in building a stronger bilateral relations with the Gambia. Ambassador Sereno commends the Gambian government in the effort of managing the devastating pandemic and outlines some of the areas his country plans to improve on with the Gambia. Here's an insert, more of that.
As you would expect from a leading country in the region, I would like to thank in particular the Gambian Protocol and His Excellency the Minister of Foreign Affairs for this. In an increasing and challenging environment where the fight human security issues in all domains demand a comprehensive and coordinated approach, we, Portugal, we appreciate all the efforts the government of Gambia has been putting in place to fight and control the COVID-19 pandemic. This is, for us, a worldwide effort, and vaccine equity is, in our view, ultimately about human rights. Vaccines must be a global public good, accessible and affordable for all. It is clear that effective multilateralism remain at the heart of the Gambia's foreign policy, and this is a clear common point of view with the Portuguese geopolitical viewpoint. There are, from today on, a number of areas where bilateral relations between our two countries be further developed. From technology to agriculture and tourism, but special to blue and green economy and maritime security.
Ambassador of Portugal to the Gambia there speaking to our colleagues at the State House in Banjul. And on a similar mission, the President presents certificate of appreciations to the outgoing economic troops in the Gambia. Mr. Adama Barrow expressed appreciation to the Gendarmerie for their support in maintaining peace and stability in the country throughout their stay. Moving on, Gambia Press Union on Thursday organized a workshop on the importance of accessing information during elections, improving transparency and accountability in the electoral process in Africa. Access to information has been established as a fundamental right in the regional and international law. Daisy tells us more.
Access to official information may be restricted only if it is necessary. But in the Gambia, access to official documents has ever been a problem for journalists, activists, and citizens at large. However, the Gambia Press Union at a workshop brings together representatives from civil society and the media to share experiences on access to information in elections, as well as to make recommendations for free and fair elections. GPU has passed an Access to Information Bill to the Gambia National Assembly for adoption and ratification to make easy access to information. The Vice President of GPU, Mohamed Esba, highlights that parliamentarians should see this bill as a life-saving document.
Also before the Parliament, and I think the National Assembly should see, and all stakeholders should see the bill as a life-saving machine, which is important to all Gambians. The Gambia is one of the few West African English-speaking countries without an ATI law. The GPU and Civil Society Coalition on Access to Information has been at the forefront to get this law or legislative framework to be enacted.
Many are optimistic that parliamentarians will adopt and pass the Access to Information Bill. John Charles Njai, Civil Society Coalition on Access to Information, encourages journalists and civil society activists to mount pressure on the National Assembly to pass the bill.
Also, as I end, let me encourage you to please call your National Assembly members. The Access to Information Bill is before the National Assembly. Call them from this meeting, during your breaks. Call them, tell them in March, please give access to information priority. I think we are very laid back as a people. And if all of us begin to call our National Assembly members and pile the pressure, I believe something will happen. And we will see the desires that we have begin to come to fruition.
Mohamed Sise, an activist, says access to information in elections is essential as Gambia will soon head to the polls. Mr. Sise hopes that the bill is passed by the parliamentarians.
Parliament not passed yet, but we are expecting that it is passed by our parliamentarians, that it doesn't suffer the same hiccup that the Constitution suffered, because the Access to Information Bill is something that is very special. It's supposed to be called our maiden bill because we have never had such in this country, and I will urge our parliamentarians to make sure that this bill is passed and then made available as a law so that access to information becomes something that is legally binding upon every Gambian and upon every citizen of the country.
Access to Information Bill was submitted to the National Assembly in December 2019. The bill is expected to go through the committee and subcommittee stages and be debated by parliamentarians before finally becoming a law. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Desise.
Now, Senegal have begun COVID-19 vaccinations with the Chinese vaccine. Health workers and community leaders were the first to receive the dose to encourage for greater participation. Authorities are expected to extend the vaccination to about 90% of the population. More of that report.
Senegal's Ministry of Health headquarters was the place to be as the country launched its vaccination campaign. The first targets of the inoculation exercise are frontline workers. Community leaders are leading in efforts to win the minds and souls of local communities.
I have come here today to support this exercise. I am doing this for the communities, to give them an assurance on the vaccines. I call upon all women, their leaders and heads of households to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
I am asking people to get vaccinated like myself, to protect themselves, their family and the entire Senegalese people. It is through unity that we will defeat this virus for normal life to resume.
Authorities are hoping to vaccinate about 90% of an expected 3.5 million people. Among the targeted people are health workers and high-risk persons between 19 and 60 years of age.
Today we started the vaccination campaign in Senegal. The head of state's vision is that we respect the two principles, fairness and transparency. It is the principle of equity that has allowed us to be present today in all 14 regions of Senegal. That is why a National Commission for Monitoring and Control of Vaccination has been set up here at the Ministry of Health. But at the grassroots, the governors will have to take every step to achieve the principle of transparency.
Senegal will also donate 10,000 doses of its Sinopharm vaccines to the neighboring Guinea-Bissau and 10,000 doses to Gambia. The Health Ministry also says a further 1.3 million doses are expected to arrive by early March. The country is also in talks with Russia, which could see its Sputnik V vaccine procured at a cost of over $3.7 million.
And with that story, we go with a very short commercial break. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back. You're watching The World Today News Bulletin on iAfrica TV. Now, the Truth Commission on Thursday continues to hear testimonies from witnesses who were involved in the issue of the West African migrants. The migrants were apprehended at the shore of Barra in 2005, and it was later discovered that they were allegedly massacred. The first witness to face the commission today is the defense attaché to Nigeria, Mr. Asansar, who told the commission how he got to know about the migrants. Khadija Tuseka reports.
In his testimony, Asansar explains how they were informed about the arrest. He says they were at the Makati Square celebrating the 22nd July celebration when he heard from Usman Sonko that there was a large number of people arrested on the shores of Barra.
About an arrest of some people around Barra.
Di japak ay nit ci Barra.
I don't know what further messages he received because it was a phone call.
Xamuma nak yeneen bataaxel yu ci topp nag ndax ti yëfi téléphone la.
But thereafter where we were seated.
Waaw nag ci jamono fi ñu toogoon.
And informed us that were arrests were made at Barra of so many people.
Ci lañu yëgal nag ne am na ñu jàpp ay nit ñu bari fële ca Barra.
But did not explain
waaye nag biralutoon
of the arrest and what they committed or whatever.
The second witness, Ibrahima Jallow, who transported the migrants from the port of Barra, told the commission the description and number of migrants that were arrested.
Yes. Togolese Saba.
3 Australians and 3 Togolese.
And
And 44 Ghanaians. Yes. I can recall that. 44 Ghanaians, you said.
44 Ghanaian.
Ghanaian din tannan nin nani.
3 Sierra Leoneans. 2 Senegalese. And
3 Togolese. 44 Ghanaians.
Yes. There was one Ghanaian, he was the shortest amongst all the captives. And he was also bald head. He was a bald head. And he too was oldest. According to the interview that was conducted in my presence.
Yes.
Any Nigerians?
Nigerian no, they gonna bang.
Anyway, Hakilo Mama.
I cannot remember, but for these ones, I remember fully.
In July 2005, 24 Ghanaian migrants and some other 12 other West Africans from Nigeria, Senegal, Togo, and Cote d'Ivoire, including 2 women, forcibly disappeared in the Gambia while on their way to Europe by sea. In 2008, a number of UN and ECOWAS investigators came to the country to make their findings on the alleged massacre of West African migrants, but the United Nations reported that the Gambia government was not directly or indirectly complicit in the deaths and disappearance of these migrants. Reporting for African News, I am Kerejot Seka.
In their quest towards implementing the call on action on human rights, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on all member states to shoulder a collective responsibility in enhancing its progress. In a briefing on Wednesday, Mr. Guterres said it would be unhealthy for the observation of human rights to be centralized on the privileged few, leaving out the rest. Here is more of that.
The world has been and continues to be slammed by a series of human rights violations, most especially in developing countries. In the context of remedying the widespread disregard for human rights, the call to human rights, which was launched last year, meant to avail a peaceful, democratized, and dignified life for all.
Much like COVID-19 vaccines, human rights will not lead to a healthier world if they are only available to the privileged few. We need renewed, concerted global determination to ensure the protection of human rights of all people, everywhere and in all situations.
The UN Secretary General said the call to action was launched in a context of a wholesale assault on human rights around the globe, from gallerying infringement to creeping transgressions.
En reconstruisant ensemble, nous avons une occasion unique et historique de bâtir un monde où la dignité de chaque personne est reconnue, où chaque société est capable de résister aux crises et où l'avenir de chaque personne repose sur un socle de droits inaliénables. L'appel à l'action en faveur des droits humains inscrit les problèmes les plus urgents et les plus fondamentaux de notre monde dans la perspective des droits. Et ces problèmes exigent que nous donnions collectivement le meilleur de nous-mêmes.
Political, economic, and social factors have predominantly staged rampant human rights violations in the globe, leading to insecurity and cracking crises in many countries. Guterres urged all member states to shoulder a collective responsibility, saying transformative change will make full commitment based on extended support.
And we must all join forces to deliver. Only by working together can we forge a new social contract that reflects respect and protection for all people and is rooted in universal human rights.
The call to action guides the way with a focus on 7 thematics, which are rights at the core of sustainable development, rights in times of crisis, gender equality and equal rights for women, public participation and civic space, among others. The UN chief also appealed to all member states to ensure that the Office of the High Commission of Human Rights, the treaty body mechanism, and other critical human rights activities have the necessary means to carry on this mandate and fulfill our shared promise to protect and advance human rights. For African News, I am Fatoumata Kassim.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic is spreading rapidly within the continents and requires strategic measures. As a result, governments around the world are busy vaccinating their people to help contain further the spread of the virus. And Ghana, a country in West Africa, is the latest to receive the vaccine from the World Health Organization's COVAX initiative. Daisy has more.
The 600,000 COVAX vaccine doses given to Ghana is part of the deliveries of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which represented part of the first wave of the pandemic. As the devastating virus continued to ravage the world, WHO and its partners are working tirelessly to develop and deploy safe and effective vaccines around the world. Since the beginning of February 2021, different vaccines, including the AstraZeneca vaccine, have been rolled out in countries with vulnerable populations. The first mass vaccination program of the pandemic started in early December 2020, and Ghana is the first West African country to receive the first shipment of the COVID-19 vaccine. The WHO representative to Ghana, Dr. Francis Kasolo, describes the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines as a momentous occasion. With the arrival of the vaccines, the path of recoveries for the people of Ghana can finally begin after more than 80,700 Ghanaians got infected with the virus and a little over 580 deaths. In this time of uncertainty, the COVAX facility plans to deliver close to 2 million doses of the vaccine this year alone. Meanwhile, according to a report by the WHO, 20% of the coronavirus fatality rates dropped globally last week, coinciding with a global decline in coronavirus cases and an increase in vaccinations. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Desise.
To Tanzania now, where global traveling restriction continues to affect the country's tourism industry. The Tinga Tinga Art Center that welcomes thousands of tourists in Tanzania is facing setback due to the impact of the global pandemic. The Tanzanian government has plans on elevating the earnings of the tourism sector. Details in this report.
Tinga Tinga is a unique painting style created by the Tanzanian artist Edward Saidi Tinga Tinga 50 years ago. The famed dot motif style has inspired a generation of artists who depend on selling artwork to tourists as a means to feed their families. But global travel restrictions due to COVID-19 have cut their business by 90%. This market in 2019 was once visited by thousands of tourists each year, but now it is empty. Edin Denje, the chairman of the Tinga Tinga cooperative and an artist himself, says the government's desire to increase tourism earning gives them hope.
In that new target of 5 million visitors, we as Tinga Tinga Society can attract even 2 million tourists. We leave the 3 million to others. I'm sure we can do that because globally, Tinga Tinga art is getting known and is well received.
It's not just the Tinga Tinga Center that has been hit. The Tanzania Tourism Board says just 800,000 tourists visited last year, a 47% plunge from 2019. During his re-election campaign, Tanzanian President John Magufuli promised to more than double the 2019 visitor numbers.
In the next 5 years, we have plans to increase the number of tourists to 5 million by the year 2025.
But Tanzania's handling of the pandemic could deter tourists. The government has not released COVID-19 data since May, so there is no clear understanding of how widespread the virus has become, especially now as new, more transmissible variants take hold. There is also no clear vaccination strategy, but earlier this month, the health minister said the country has no plans in place to accept COVID-19 vaccines and encourage citizens to take precautions like washing hands, but also to use herbal blends to boost immunity. That plan could hinder liftoff in the sector, which accounts for 17% of Tanzania's GDP and employs about 4 million Tanzanians. Those in the industry are taking matters into their own hands. Jamila Kawawa, a travel agent, says her company has reduced their service charge and are working on offers to entice travelers. But she says government support is key.
If the government works hard to promote all these places, we will hit that target and possibly even exceed that number.
According to the Bank of Tanzania, Tanzania's tourism earnings dropped to $1 billion in 2020, something that Edie, Jamila, and other small tourism players can attest to. They hope the Minister of Tourism's regional tour can offer solutions to a challenge that affects their very livelihoods.
And with that, we come to the end of this Bulletin of the World today. On behalf of the entire production team, many thanks for watching. Have a pleasant evening.
Pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.